Hi and welcome to this episode today. I have invited Dave Hill from Scotland. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks, Cecilia.
It's nice to have you here.
It's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
And you also have a podcast sharing with a lot of guests.
Yeah, it started about 3-4 months ago. It's called Simple Reflections, and it looks at how we learn by insight. So I have conversations with all kinds of people from the Three Principles community or people that I've bumped into that have got an interesting story, and just gently look at how sometimes seemingly small insights have had profound impacts on people's lives, as well as some massive insights, and it's a mixture of all of that. But it's a nice, gentle conversation, and we sort of see where it goes.
And we talked about before we put on the recording that we both grow with having this conversation with people, and we always do that when we connect. We always hear something that, and we never know when we hear something that touch us. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's nice to connect.
Yeah, hugely.
And you said a topic today.
Yeah, I thought about trusting the signs as an idea. That the whole thing for me, the whole thing that got me excited about the Three Principles as an idea, was the simplicity of it, and the fact that they're constantly pointing back to the simplicity of the design of us, how we're designed to thrive, no matter what, and some of that requires trusting the uncomfortable signs, the things that feel painful, as well as the things that feel lovely, and the things that just feel mediocre in the middle. They're all there to guide us. It's a little bit like driving down the road and realizing that the destination that you've got, there's a diversion. That's not a particularly nice thing to come across. It might add loads of time to your journey, but actually, you sort of need to trust the signs as they show up and go with them and see where they take you. And I thought that was just a lovely way of looking at trusting our feelings, seeing that every single one we get is there to help us thrive and to guide us in some way. And where we tend to get lost as human beings is thinking that the uncomfortable ones, the painful ones, are a problem, that they are a negative reflection on us and our ability to cope with things, or that things are going wrong, rather than a gentle reminder, or sometimes not so gentle reminder, that things aren't quite okay right now, but that's all right. It's like a diversion. It's trying to get our attention. It's trying to help us see that there may be another way than the direction in which we're traveling right now. And I thought that would be a nice way to sort of kick things off.
Really does. And I just love the word simplicity. I use this word a lot because it points to something that I feel that I can relax in. But in the beginning, when I came across the Three Principles and I was in that low mood, dark thinking, and I was suffering a lot, and I heard people say, but life is simple. It's simple. And I just felt, yeah, maybe it's simple for you, but it's not simple for me. And it was so difficult to hear that simple. Life is simple. So later on, when I came across the word simplicity, it just came to me like a more soft way, that I could feel like, okay, life, even if life doesn't seem easy or simple, you can always slow things down and come back to a more simplicity. There is when you just settle everything that's are so noisy and busy, you can come to that more easy simplicity. And that's how I love to see it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Same. It's the same for me. My company's called Simplicity in Mind. on purpose. Life can feel complicated. Things can seem complicated, and normally it's us just not seeing the whole picture at the moment. So it's okay to feel complicated. It's letting us know to as you say, to slow down and take a sort of little bit of a check and go, okay, what's missing here at the moment? It's not that I'm failing, or that we're failing. It's an invitation to go, okay, what aren't we seeing at the moment? What else is there? So it goes away from being a sort of laser focused hunt for the thing that's missing to an expansive what's out there. How else might we see this? Which is expansive and opens us up to being curious again, rather than scrabbling around in a desperate way to try and get through whatever's in front of us. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with feeling desperate about things, because the beauty of our design generally is that if we don't get something, it just ramps up the noise a little bit, makes it a little bit more uncomfortable for us, so that we start paying attention to it. We understand that in the world of physical pain. If we've damaged our knee or something, doing sport or out walking or whatever it happens to be, the pain we feel is to catch our attention, to say, just be gentle with that at the moment, give it a break, let it heal. It will, but the more you use it, the more painful it gets. And that's just a notching up of the system going, come on, I've given you one warning, you're obviously not paying attention, have some more. Well, we understand that with physical pain. We don't tend to understand that when it comes to emotional distress, and all the rest of it. But it's the more you look at it, the more you just gently play with the idea, it starts to stack up, starts to make sense. And when it starts to make sense, you become more attuned to it, and therefore catch on to those things earlier, and they don't tend to get so noisy and in your face to get your attention, because you're catching it earlier. I think one of the wonderful things I heard while working with Bill Pettit a number of years ago was he loves the fact now that he's become way more attuned, so that he just the slightest waver from a comfortable feeling, it's got his attention, and he's really grateful for that, because in the past he would ignore it or he'd be oblivious to it, and it would just ramp up and ramp up and ramp up until it wiped him out for a bit. And that wiping out, that the body and the mind's ability to shut us down and make us ill to get our attention is a fantastic gift, but we don't understand it that way.
No, I went to Copenhagen and to Linda and Bill Pettit for a week, and he talked a lot about the love letters that we are given. The universe give us, that we have to understand what the meaning of that is. When we feel like, oh, I'm not comfortable now, I'm feeling worry, or I feel tired or stressed, or I have headache or something, that you talked about the signs that's we need to listen to, and we don't want to, because sometimes we don't understand it.
Yeah.
But if you more and more go deeper inside and see that this is the a call for us to slow down.
Yeah, and we will wake up at some point. Our attention will be grabbed to the point that we go, oh right, I need to stop and do stuff. You mentioned Bill and his love letters. The first time he introduced that concept to me, we were talking about suicide and suicidal ideation. I do quite a lot of work with veterans in the UK, and suicide is something that gets talked about quite a bit, unfortunately. But interestingly, it gets talked about, which is great. That's a great start. So, just last week, I had a guy who's not far from where you are right now, a British former British soldier, living in your part of the world, and he just sent me a message out of the blue saying I'm struggling.
Mm.
So we had a conversation. The power of Zoom it is a wonderful thing. So we got to see each other, and I could tell he was a little bit shaken by what was going on in his world. But just that ability to connect, as you said right at the top of the call, and him feel connected with someone rather than alone, shifted things. Now, he didn't mention to me in that call that he was feeling suicidal. He sent me a message the next day saying, thank you, you saved my life. Well, I didn't actually. He slowed down enough to see that it wasn't as bad as the messages he was getting from himself, because he was ignoring them and ignoring them and ignoring them until he'd written a suicide note. At which point he decided to send him a text message, which meant he had a phone call with someone that connected him with another human being, and everything settled. A love letter from the heart.
So we got our inner system that works all the time. If we can listen, it tries to tell us that we need to slow down, and maybe it isn't so bad as we think it is. But how about you, Dave? Where did it come from when you wanted to have your podcast calling Simplicity? Where did that come from?
Where did the idea come from? I, with two friends, we've paused it at the moment, but we used to run a monthly call for veterans and first responders, so policemen, police officers, ambulance crews, fire crews, because the other two guys on the call have both served. One in the RAF, the Royal Air Force in the UK, and the other in the army with me. And when they left the forces, they both joined the police force. So they wanted to do something that sort of dealt with a community that were dealing with difficult circumstances, were getting put in harm's way. So we created a thing called Missing in Action, which, as I say, is on pause at the moment. And last November, we were due to have a conversation with someone. It was all lined up, and on the day of it, one of the guys went, I'm having a really bad day, I hit my head at work, I've got a headache, I'm not going to be on the call. So that's fine, no worries, not a problem. And the other guy went, I've got too much work on, I can't make it either. I said, it's fine, it'll be fine, I'll cope, it'll work really well, I'm sure, let's just see how it goes. But I do need you to open the call up, because it was on Paul's Zoom license. So we tried transferring it in the past, that never worked. So he opened the call, wasn't on the camera, was listening in the background while he was working. And we just had a really lovely, it was Alan Millage, and I had a really lovely conversation. We had no idea where we were going to go with it. We just started it. It was done live. We chatted for about an hour. And at the end of it, sort of signed off, and Paul went, Dave, you should probably do a podcast. I think you're really good at this kind of stuff. You're really natural in having conversations with people. I think there's something there. I went, okay, I've never thought of that. And I then went away, scrabbled around, learned a little bit about how it worked, what it might cost to do, some of the technical bits and pieces, thought about some of the logistics of it, and started asking people if they'd be interested in taking part. And they were. So, I started recording, started editing bits and pieces up. I try and have 2 or 3 that are edited and ready to go in front of me. And so, I'm recording another one tomorrow and one on Friday, and that will be content that goes out in October.
It sounds like me. when you start to connect and you feel like it's a passion for you.
Yeah.
You can't stop, and it's not like addiction. I can't
No,
say
it's just
that
fun.
it's like that.
It's fun.
It's fun. And when you feel the fun, you go with it. You go with the flow.
Absolutely.
So
life is a playful experience.
Yeah, it is. So you like to do things that you feel comfortable with, and maybe that helps someone to hear something that change, because
you never know what
I listen a lot, when I started to hear things when everything was very dark for me, I listen a lot. And in the beginning, I fall asleep all the time. I can see on YouTube there are recordings when Celia is because I didn't know how to rest. I was so busy, 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 busy. So I get so tired. But when you continue to do that, you feel like, oh, the beautiful feeling arise. And it's very nice to not have all this sound everywhere.
I think what's interesting in that is the feeling you've just described is there already. It's just getting masked by the noise of all of that busyness.
Yeah.
And that's what the signs are trying to let us know. The more loud they get, the more distressing they get, the more they're trying to let us know that we can't see who we are. We can't see that that peaceful feeling is there all the time. We've just lost sight of it. And that's what, you know, that's the beauty of the design is it's there. We've just lost sight of it. And it doesn't matter if we're a bit lost, because it's momentary. You know, as a soldier, you get lost. Officers get told that they get people lost all the time, mainly because they're doing the navigating and they're taking the responsibility. Actually, everybody gets lost at times, and it's a horrible feeling. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't know where we are. Okay, well, I do know for a fact that we're still on the planet, so that's a good start. And I can't be too far away from where I think I am because I'm walking. And so let's just stop. You know, I've got a choice. I either stick my head down and hope, keep going in the direction I'm going, make a bold adjustment and go in a direction that I'm not sure about at all, or I stop and check. And that's that uncomfortable feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm physically lost. I don't know where I am. Well, when we slow down, when we stop, take a look around, we've got everything we need to be able to work out where we are. We've got a map, we've got a compass, we've got the ground around us, and we can start putting that jigsaw together and go, okay, right, cool. This is the last place I know I was, and this is where I am. I think I might be now, and this is why I think that. Okay, I'm now confident again to move on, even if I was a bit lost. I might be a little bit off track, but that's okay. I now know. But the discomfort is there to get my attention, to get me to check. And that is the same if you take the sort of navigation piece out the way and go, I'm feeling lost in life at the moment. Okay, cool.
Well,
Stop.
was it your history, Dave, when you were in the military, that you felt that you were lost, and you now have come across the three principles and things have changed for you?
No, I don't. I wasn't. I'm very lucky. There was a period in my life about 7 years ago where something personal was going on in my life, and I felt lost. But I also knew with absolute certainty that all would be okay. I couldn't put my finger on why. I just knew everything would be all right. It's just at that moment, it was all uncertain and it all felt horrible, but I knew it would pass. I knew it was a moment in time. I had no reason to be able to say why I had that strong belief. I just knew it. And I decided to look after myself and create space to give me a chance to slow down and see that. I didn't know at that stage about the principles. It just made sense for me to do that. I had been speaking to other soldiers for about 4 or 5 years by that point, trying to help them. And I'd said, look, if you're getting in a pickle, slow down, speak to someone. Together we can work things through. And it's not that I know what the answer is. That's not a thing. Let's just slow down. Let's have a look at it together, because 2 brains are better than 1. After that experience, I got control of myself and basically said, okay, I'm good to go again. The problem in my life still existed. That hadn't gone anywhere. I had just found my bearings again. And I was able to move on again and keep going. Shortly after that, I was introduced to the principles, which made perfect sense based on my experience I just had, and also made perfect sense of why listening to people with no agenda, no plan on how I might try and fix things for them because I didn't know the answer, why that was helpful. So it made sense then to go, okay, well, let's look at this more because I think this could be really helpful for my friends. That's why I went and learned more about it. It's a bizarre byproduct that actually I've now ended up with this being my career. This is what I do for a living now. And all in the service of veterans in this country, because I wanted to give more of my time up and I needed to earn money differently to be able to do that. And I knew that having conversations with people from any walk of life, whether that's in a corporate setting, helping a team of people work through a problem, or get to form as a team, or whether it's individuals struggling with things in their lives that they need assistance with, by having conversations with people, knowing that if they have an understanding of trusting the signs, that they will be okay and they'll be able to navigate their own problems as they see them right now, that will help the people I want to help too. And it's been really interesting because the things that I've learned in the corporate boardroom, I take to the veterans because it's outside of their experience. It's not what they know and see and understand. And as a result, they have no personal connection with it and they can be more playful with it. And I can take the life experience of veterans that are, for some struggling to stay alive, into a corporate setting or a private client setting. And because it's not their experience, they can be more playful with that and be curious about that. And in doing so, they get to see the parallels between their own set of circumstances and these other ones, realize that it's got nothing to do with the content of what either person's thinking, but comes back to how we navigate by trusting the signs available to us. And the signs for us as human beings are how we feel.
And it doesn't matter what we are doing in life, where we are living, or what we're working with, or none of them, because when we function the same.
Yeah. We might think we're different. We're absolutely not. We're all the same. Doesn't matter where we are in the world, where we were brought up. We might have some different beliefs. We might have different ways of being educated, different languages that we talk. But actually, the way we navigate life is through a feeling state, how we feel. And that is universal. That has no language.
No.
We've tried creating a language around it, and we've called them emotions. That's just labels for a set of feelings with a certain, a set of feelings with a label of the content that's running through our mind at that moment. The nervous excitement and nervous anxiety. The feeling is roughly the same. It's just in one instance you are looking forward to it, and in the other you are not. The feeling of the butterflies in your stomach is the same. And when we understand that if we're in a lower mood, we're likely to try and grab hold of negative arguments for why we're there, well, that's good to know. We don't tend to do it when we're feeling in a good mood, because it doesn't make sense to go, oh, I'm feeling in a good mood because the sun is shining. But people do that. Oh, I'm having a good day because the sun's shining. Okay, cool. Does that work for you? If the sun goes away now, are you going to be in a bad mood? For some people, because that's what they believe, that's the experience they end up having because of their belief structure. It's true for them as long as they believe it, and at some point they may not, at which point it just drifts off, goes away until they forget get caught up in it again and go, huh, that's happened again. That's bizarre. And they bounce through it more lightly because they realize there's another way.
But people always need a kind of explanation of everything. If especially with the children, when the children doesn't do or feel what we know, then we must have an explanation about it.
Yeah, because we've been taught that that's the good thing to do, and to a degree, it's true. To a degree, it's true because if we're feeling cold, it makes sense to put some more clothes on, go somewhere warm. We're looking for the logic of that. Okay, right, yeah, no, you're not wearing enough, or you're a bit wet. Let's get the wet clothes off, put something dry on. We're designed to think like that. We're designed to go looking for reasons, which is fine. There's nothing wrong in that. The problem is we sometimes believe things that aren't 100% true. They look like the most truthful thing, but we grab hold of it. And over a period of time, that becomes habitual to the point that we either avoid doing things because I'm worried I'm going to feel like that, so just not going to do it, not going to go anywhere near it. Well, that's great. That's a wonderful defense mechanism. If I don't like feeling that way, and I tend to, it tends to happen in this situation, then it makes a good idea not to go there. As a teenager, I didn't know I was dyslexic. It was something I learned later on in life when I joined the army. I absolutely knew, as I thought at the time, that reading was unpleasant, especially reading out loud in front of people because you got laughed at. That acting was not my thing at all because, again, that was saying things out loud and I would likely to trip over that and make a mistake and get laughed at. So I just didn't go anywhere near those things. I chose exam subjects to avoid those kind of things, which made perfect sense. It kept me away from something that I found distressing. Brilliant.
It's me with the school. I'm the same with the school, that I had a thought about not understand what they were talking about. So it had been like that, that I haven't educate higher up because of, no, that's not for me. I can't do that. I don't understand. I can't make this test. And
as a strategy for avoiding failure, it's a good one. The problem comes with the judgment that we heap on ourselves that goes with that. So we can make choices based on not wanting to do something that we think might go wrong. Great. But when we go, and that's because I'm thick or I'm stupid or I'm not good enough, that's the bit that's painful. It's the stick we beat ourselves for why we don't do it, rather than going, yeah, that just doesn't look like my thing. Okay.
And we do. A lot of people do that.
A lot of people do that. And that's the unnecessary bit in my mind. It's being done innocently, but it's unnecessary. We will all do it. We will all do it because we're humans.
Yeah, so I can still feel all those feelings, but I still think that I need to do it anyway. Like this record. In the beginning, it was oh no, I can't do that. Or other podcast hosts are better, and maybe they want to listen to their podcast, or the guests don't want to come, maybe. But I have done it anyway, even if I got those scary. It's just scary thoughts coming, and now it's more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And the piece we were talking about before we started recording, that in conversation with anybody on any subject, we have an opportunity to learn something, whether we're talking about the principles or not. It doesn't matter. Whether that's in the conversation or not, our ability to learn and grow and move forward is there every conversation we ever have. And because of that, it's exciting to see where they go. because yes, we may have a starting point of we're going to talk about this, but we don't actually know where it's going to go. We could sit down and have an agenda and work our way through it. It would probably be a bit staid. We might tick those points, which is great, but actually the meandering nature of a conversation and following the natural flow of it is what we do in everyday life. We come up against people we've never met before, we have a conversation, and we might learn something from it. We won't think much of that, but it's true, and it's how we've got to where we are today. And the beliefs and things that have guided us to this point in life are absolutely perfect for us up until this point, because they've got us to this point. And in the next moment, we might learn something new that takes us in a completely different direction. Amazing. And that's true for everybody.
Yeah, we never know. We never know what life is going to give us.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to be curious.
Yeah, well, yeah, or be aware that curiosity is on our
Yeah,
side and will guide
yeah.
us. And the more we are open to new experience, to challenging our beliefs in a gentle way, going, this is true for me now, but it hasn't always been. It might feel like it's always been, but actually, the way I feel about certain things today, I certainly didn't when I was 14 or 15 or 20 or 30. They've changed. My view on life, my trajectory through life has evolved as I have, and it will continue to do so until I decide it's not going to happen. But actually, even if I decide it's not going to happen, it will. That's the funny thing about it. There are people around who think that they haven't changed for the last 20 or 30 years. There will be a pattern to their habits that may not have changed for 20 or 30 years. But who they are as a person, how they see things, will be subtly different from that starting point. Life doesn't stand still. We are changing all the time. And that's a wonderful thing to know, because no matter how uncomfortable things are right now, who knows what's around the corner?
Yeah, because when we are up in it, we can't see that it's going to move. It's so heavy.
Yeah.
But it does.
Yeah, it comes back. It
And
comes
that's
back to
hopeful.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really hopeful.
It comes back to trusting the signs and going, oh my goodness, it's a dead end. There is no other way.
No.
Well, if I've come to a dead end in the road, there is absolutely another way. Turn around and go back the way I've just come. It's not the end in that sense.
No.
There are always options, and when we feel completely backed into a corner and that there are no options, or that there's only one option, and that feels upsetting and distressing, that upset and distress is to remind us that we can only see one right now. That's okay, but there are more. We might just not see them right now. And that's that invitation to slow down we were talking about. To take a step back, have a breather, do what that chap did last week and send a message to someone going, I'm feeling a bit ropey, can we have a chat?
To hold someone's hand and to walk together. That's so beautiful. Not to do when I was very in a bad shape, and I was staying in a retreat center. I was going out with one from the staff there, and we ate ice cream. And I remember that was the best of the whole time there, when we were sitting, and she was talking about her grandchild, and it didn't was something about problems. It was just ice cream and sitting there and talking.
A connection.
Yeah, and
Connection.
I remember that as a very good thing to do. So I can really see that I didn't need any talk about my problems. I need to rest from it. And I did, with the ice cream and with just being together.
Yeah, and general chit chat about life. But
Yeah.
something completely distant and and irrelevant to your troubles as they were at the time.
And my trouble didn't came from something that I have had something really bad, like in the military, maybe they have seen difficult things, dead, and difficult things they have been through. I couldn't say that I have been through something like that, but even though I had my inner, I didn't like myself, and I didn't um, understand myself in life.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an inner hell, and it had all about me, not others. And I knew that this is something that I can't run away from. It's a feeling, a deep feeling, that thoughts about and feelings about me, that I can't run away from. And I don't need to, because I have a husband, I have kids, I have a work, I have a house, I have got everything from the outside, but I didn't feel well from the inside, and I couldn't run away from that.
Yeah, I think there's an interesting distinction that you made there that um, from my experience, um, people have their own experiences in life, and the only thing they have to help them be aware of them are the feelings that they have, the signs that are there laid down for them. And we can go, oh yeah, but someone's had a worse experience than me, and therefore that should feel worse. No, not in my mind, not at all, because the the feelings that we have are there. They are universal. They are not linked to content. They may over time get desensitized by things because we become more familiar with certain situations. So there might be a change in threshold there, but actually that's not necessarily true either. Someone who is scared of spiders is absolutely petrified of them. They're fearing for their life while they're climbing on a chair and trying to get away from something that's as small as a twopence piece or whatever it happens to be. Now, for some people, that looks like they're they're over exaggerating, but that fear that they're experiencing is completely real for them, as is the fear of someone that's just witnessed a car crash, as is someone's fear of something that they've woken up from in a dream. The capacity for us to experience fear and upset is an inbuilt one based on how we're thinking about things. 100% of the time. So the content may look like the culprit, but it never is. It's our relationship with the thoughts that we're having and thinking that the feelings that we're having are a problem when they're actually a reflection of our thinking. That's all they are. They're a sign to help us try and navigate from where we are right now. And if that's fear and anxiety, that's fine. Thank you very much indeed. It's good to know that's where I am. From there, I can take a step back and see what I might be missing right now. And that could be the connection of another person. It could be a realization that the thoughts that are running through my mind aren't relevant to me right now. Now, I can't change them. I can't go stop, delete, put something else in. But when I realize that, oh, okay, yeah, I'm feeling like this at the moment because I'm thinking about that, well, that makes sense. Now, I know that thought is fleeting, that it will pass. I also know that if I try and concentrate hard on making it go away, that is basically like poking it. It's like playing with a puppy at that stage. If you push a puppy away, it comes running back and wants to play more. It's when you go, okay, right, fine, it's annoying, it's pulling on my trouser leg. If I just know that it's there and I'm doing my best not to stand on it, and I try and get on with my day, it'll get fed up and go away.
You can't feed it. You can't feed the thoughts, the bad thoughts. That's how we do.
Yeah,
And then we
we give
have
it we give it
to
energy by thinking
be with
about it.
all that.
Yeah.
It's to know who you are and to see that you are always guided, and universe try to tell you when you feel uncomfortable that you are believing in your thoughts.
Yeah, and that's all it is. Those are the signs that are being presented to you. You're believing the illusion that's being created by your thinking right now. Now that's okay. The awareness of that is what's hugely relieving to people when they show, I know that I experience my thinking from moment to moment, and my feelings are telling me the value of those thoughts in that moment. Great. That's absolutely great. And if my thoughts aren't based on what's happening right here, right now, in this moment, then they're a distraction from me being able to get on with my life right now. Good to know. Good to know. Good to know that at the moment I'm only 60% here because 40% of me is caught up in stuff. Cool. I'll know not to pay too much attention to the decisions that I'm thinking about taking right now. I might double check. Go, does that make sense?
And we don't need to compare with each other.
No.
If you have a more it's more okay for you to feel sad or bad, and me, because that's also something we do. We compare with each other. Oh, you have been through that, so you are allowed to feel this, but I'm
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
And
Or
then
we can.
I feel this shame that I suffer because I have all this from the outside, but I don't feel it inside. So that came to a huge transforming and shift when I understood that, deeply understood that it has nothing to do about the outside, all to do about my thinking and feeling of my thinking.
I've got two questions for you. Before you had that transformative moment, how did life feel? If you were to sum it up.
In the last part of very close to my experience, it was awful. I wanted to stop my life. I had tried everything, so I gave it up.
Mhm. And did all of that feel complex and difficult?
Very, very difficult. So I was in a really bad place when I had this shift. But before that in life, it had flowed up and down, but mostly down, but even up. It's not like that I have gone through 50 years not being sad all the time. It has been up and down, but since I was little, a lot of dark thoughts about me. But the last time before I had this wake up, it was very, very dark.
And knowing what you know now, if before it was complicated, that there's a feeling for me in the way that you've described it all that it's simpler now. It feels simpler. Nothing's changed. Your experience of it has changed, but your life is still your life.
Yeah, I can talk about my history, but I cannot, and I cannot. It's like I'm talking about someone else because I'm not in it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not the one who experiences that anymore. And that's history, and it really is. I have left it.
That's
So
beautiful.
when I talk about, I don't think that I could talk about it like this if it still was hurting me.
Mhm.
And I don't think that I should have had a podcast sharing and giving hope to others if I didn't have going through it. But I'm not there anymore. So now when I feel low mood and have dark thinking, I know that I can go through that. And that's always fluctuating.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have a deeper trust, and
Awesome.
that's hope. That's
Yeah,
hope for others to know
absolutely.
that it can be that dark if you listen to a lot to your thoughts, like I did. I really went in a wrong direction with myself.
Well, yeah, but because you were believing the story that was running through your
Yeah.
mind because you couldn't see, there wasn't another possibility at that moment. But
No, it's
this,
like you said,
yeah,
I call it blind spots.
yeah,
You see what you see, you know what you know, and when it becomes more clear for you, it opens up for more seeing.
yeah.
And I have closed that door, but I have opened a lot of new windows,
Hmm.
and
Yeah, that's cool.
that's the reason I see that I can do this with you, because it's very hopeful to people to know that don't believe in your thoughts so much.
Trust, trust the signs. Trust,
Trust the signs.
the feelings that guide us. Are there to guide us all the time, and that includes the dark ones because they're trying to catch our attention to help us see that we might be going in an uncomfortable direction, a direction that's not helpful to us in the long run. Oh, great! That's like walking on a bad knee.
Yeah, it's
There's
message.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's realizing. Oh yeah, I remember I hurt my knee. Yeah, I should give myself a break. It's the same with us, with the emotional pain that we're experiencing. It's the pain is there and it gets louder if we ignore it. To the point that we start paying attention to it and go, yeah, I've had enough. This doesn't make any sense. At which point, hope is there for all of us. Curiosity is there for all of us, all of the time. No matter how long the journey is of discomfort, at some point we'll pay enough attention to it to put our hand up and go, right, I'm ready to change. What else is there?
And a deeper understanding that it's more helpful to be in a space with another and talk to another and share whatever you feel, instead of thinking that something is wrong with you, that you are broken in some way and you need medication and other stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Because that's not my experience. Is that did the only thing that all that kind of stuff did to me was to take my further away from myself.
but medication can have its place because you know there are times when people get so caught up in things that medication might be a perfect thing to take them away from some of that for a period of time to try and slow them down. So it's not that medication is a bad thing. It's just it's not the answer. The long
And
term,
it's not for all.
absolutely
It's
not
for
for all.
some people. It's
Yeah,
for
yeah.
some people, and difficult things that you can't. It takes some time to settle down, but it's not for all.
No, no, absolutely. But it's like having a bad knee, and whether you put a bandage on it or have a walking stick or take some painkillers, they're all options to help your knee.
Mm.
There's no right or wrong answer in that. For
No.
people, that there's a whole medical world to trust on that front.
Mm.
But if we think medication is the solution long term, then we're sort of missing something. It's a point in time helpful thing to get us through the short term to create the space for us to experience something different, allowing us to slow down a little bit. There's some great stuff that Bill Pettit's produced on that explains that better than I can. Him being a doctor and me not. But there's the exciting thing for me is that no matter how dark it gets for people at times, and it can get really dark, you've experienced that. People experience that all the time. It's the hope that in that moment we see that there are either options for ourselves other than the one that we're seeing right now, or that we reach out and speak to someone. And part of that reaching out and speaking to someone, it doesn't have to be anybody special. It just needs to be another human being. Because as human beings, we have an amazing capacity to connect with each other, to be there for each other. And we don't need to be experts in stuff, because we are experts in life. We've got to the point in life that we have already. We know enough about life to be there for someone. And if someone's having a conversation with us about whatever's going on in their world and it feels scary to us, well, we can't catch that from them. We're now experiencing our thinking about their thinking. And if you think about that, that's a bit like saying, oh, crikey, yes, I've got a sore knee because you've got a sore knee. It's not something we can catch. But what we can do, if they're in a conversation with us, is we can listen to them. And just by that simple act of listening, it builds up a connection and it allows the other person to slow down. Whereas if we start worrying, they'll pick up on that worry and go, there's definitely something to worry about now. And that's what I've been able to see throughout my life in all kinds of situations. When things are falling apart and people are worrying about things, there are beacons, people wandering around the place that seem to be calm and steady the ship. And it's not necessarily because they've got the right answer. It's just that they haven't got caught up in their thinking in that moment. And other people take confidence from that. As parents, we will probably experience that when something scary's happened and our children look to us for guidance. They're looking to us for guidance because they know we have more experience, and hopefully they see in us, okay, no, this isn't brilliant, but we'll be all right. Don't worry about it. We're going to do the following, and that capacity to connect, to reassure each other, is the most wonderful thing that we can do for each other, whether we understand the principles, as Sid described them or not. It's been there forever. It was there before Sid, saw what he saw. It's been around a long, long time. We've just lost track of it along the way. We've lost track of being able to read the signs, to trust them, and take the guidance that they have had for us for millennia.
And our pets.
Yeah.
My dogs help me a lot. And I've only got one left, but he still does. And I know that many people get very much help from being together with their pets, because they are so present, and they don't ask for anything. They just want to be there, and you can just hug them and be together with them.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's the relationship with animals is uncomplicated. It's because yes, there is a little bit of language that they understand to a degree, but there isn't verbal communication. All the communication is heart to heart. It's a love thing or an anger thing, and we experience that. We see that in them. They see it in us. There's a bond in that sense, and that bond is there between human beings too. It tends to be less complicated with animals because there's there's no judgment involved in it.
There is simplicity.
Yeah, there is simplicity. And it's interesting, we talk ourselves out of that simplicity with other human beings.
They don't judge. They don't ask for anything. They just maybe food, but they just want to be with you, and they want to connect with you and see
They're
you.
uncomplicated. They're uncomplicated,
Yeah.
and they understand connection and the power of being together.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, we are pack animals. We've lived together in tribes forever.
Yeah.
Our modern life has broken that up a little bit, but it doesn't mean to say that it's not possible. And you know, it's reminding ourselves of that, following the signs, realizing that if we're feeling alone, okay, cool, let's just do something about that. Let's put our hand up, see who's out there.
And in quotes, there always says that pets are angels coming to us. And for a lot of people, it can be that. And you need an angel when you feel down. And that angel can be whatever. It can be your child.
It can be a fresh thought.
Yeah.
It can be a fresh thought, and it can be a different perspective. It can be something we've never experienced before, or something we've been reminded of that we'd completely lost sight of. And that comes back to the ability to see things fresh in every moment. A new thought will always be there. Will always be there.
That's very hopeful.
It is. And very simple.
Very simple. So maybe we end this lovely chat with simplicity to lift up the power of simplicity. Don't you think that, Dave?
That sounds like a beautiful idea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was very nice to have you here and to talk with you.
Thank you very much for having me.
About this also, my beautiful topic with simplicity.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's been lovely to meet you.
Good. Oh, I say bye-bye.
Take care.